Okay, looking at changes in working life that were brought about by the Industrial Revolution. We're also going to look at some financial, um, how to handle finances properly that we can learn from Samuel Slater, and I think it'll be pretty interesting and a valuable lesson. Um, with the mills being formed, you only need to know one task at a time. It makes it easier for workers to get jobs done, and make it easier for employers to find people that are capable of doing the jobs. It also made for jobs to be simple enough where children could do them. And children were valuable workers because of their small size, could get into tight spaces, and primarily because you could pay them less. Samuel Slater developed what's called the Rhode Island system, and in that system, um, he recruited the entire family from the countryside and from the farms to work in his factories, and then he would recoup the profits by building apartment complexes and houses around the factories. And so, when the families couldn't afford that, they could get those things with credit, um, and that way, Slater developed a system where he could recapture most of the profits from his factories and from his wages back from people who worked in his factories by them repaying him through their rent, through their debts, and through spending money in his stores as well. Um, it was a pretty smart system. I'm not sure if it's ethical, but it was a way for him to recapture his profits, and it worked pretty well. And what he did is he took those profits and he reinvested them in even more factories so that those profits would grow and succeed, and then he would buy even more factories. So he was constantly growing and reinvesting in his business and increasing his profits exponentially because he had the discipline to keep investing instead of spending and consuming all the profits that he earned with his ideas in his business. If you look at some of these um, areas where children were working, very dangerous. The belt would be moving. If they don't have shoes, they're in an uncomfortable position. Everything is moving. Lots of moving parts, things you get caught in. A lot of danger for these children working in the factories. And I'm not sure, if these children were happy about this or not, but it was part of life at the time. Unacceptable by today's standards, but by their standards back then, it was acceptable. Let's talk about finances, comparing Mike Tyson to Samuel Slater. Mike Tyson made an incredible amount of money in his boxing career, um, $400 million plus by most counts, and he did a very poor job of investing it. He didn't invest any of it. He consumed it and spent it all. He bought lavish cars and mansions. He bought tigers. He bought jewelry. He spent on fancy parties and travel. And what he got in return, a lot of these things actually cost him more money than he anticipated. If you buy a $50 million house, the taxes and insurance on that house may be $10 million a year. Um, and so he had all these reoccurring expenses, and very quickly he ran out of money and consumed and spent all his money and had to go bankrupt and pay back debts that he had as people lent him millions more dollars. And because of that, he had to fight fights he probably shouldn't have taken later in his career, and he got beat up and ruined his reputation, and it kind of drove him crazy and caused him mental anguish and led to more problems in his life. Now, Samuel Slater, on the other hand, was very, very smart. He took his profits, instead of consuming and spending all of them on himself, he reinvested them into his company. He took the profits from his first factories and built apartments that would bring him in more profits. He took the profits from his first factories and apartments and built more factories. And so his wealth and the money he spent was on investing, and it brought in more and more money. You want to be an investor, not a consumer. All of us are going to consume some money, and that's perfectly fine. We should enjoy it as we do it, but you have to set a certain amount of money away to invest. So you want to consume or spend less and keep and invest more of your profits. Through those principles and discipline in those principles, anyone can become wealthy and have the freedom to do what they want to do. So here, how do you manage money? So you have $100. Here's a suggestion what you can do with it. Give 10 away to a cause that you care about. Whether that be your church, some community organization. You're going to feel good by doing this. In some spiritual practices, this is encouraged. And the boost in self-esteem and happy vibes are going to be worth more than the $10, and will probably encourage you to do even more. You may meet connections while you do this. If you volunteer as well, it could lead you to making more money. Invest $15 in some type of investment, whether that be a company, a stock, a mutual fund. Best bet would be some type of basic broad mutual fund, or a basic broad, a broad fund that captures a lot of the market, and it's just a basic long-term investment. Try to find one with lower fees, and just let it sit, let it grow. And then save the other 15 for important big purchases down the road. If you're young, it may be your car, maybe your college education, and put that money in the bank in a savings account or in a very safe investment, and just let it grow. Then you still have the other $60 to consume and spend on fun, on things you need, things you want. And then you're getting in the habit of saving and investing. If you do that over your entire life, because of the power of compound interest, there's no doubt that you will become wealthy. The younger a person is, the more time you'll have interest to compound, and the better chance they will to have to let their money grow. For example, a person who invested $1 in the beginning of the stock market in 1802, which has the stock market's had about an 8% average growth over those from between 1802 and today. With that compounding interest, they would have $8.8 million today. So compound interest is incredibly, incredibly powerful. But it can work for you or against you. If you took a $1 loan out in 1802 with 8% interest working against you, and you didn't pay it back, and you didn't pay anything back on it, it'd be worth $8.8 million that you would owe today. So beware of compound interest. It can work for you if you're an investor. It can work against you if you're borrowing and spending money that you don't have. So you want to consume less, invest more, and think about what debts you take on, because the power of compound interest can really hurt you. If you have wise investments, though, it can really help you.